Eugene, I need to ask you a question.
Sounds serious. What is it? Go ahead.
Would you rather train for and run a road mile, like hard out, full noise road mile, or run 100 miles?
Oh, that is, I'm torn. Give me more information.
What if you could do both?
Have you been at the hand sanitizer again, Matt, in the hospital?
Not since New Year's, but besides, I'm talking about the spectacle. It's first of its kind running festival taking place in Nelson between Friday the 13th and Sunday the 15th of December 2024. Nelson, it's the South Island's hat. It's delicious. It's such a beautiful place, and it has some of the best trail running in the hemisphere, and it's just, generally beautiful.
It is stunning, Whakatū.
The spectacle is a spectacle. It's got both road and trail events and a festival vibe from 10k to 100 mile on the trails, and a bunch of road events from community miles, 5ks to an elite road mile that the organisers are going to be bringing people who we usually watch on our screens to the streets.
Thespectacle.co.nz for details and get training.
And they're off. Here we go.
We believe it to be true that Further Faster is the best independently owned outdoor store in the known universe. Whether you're heading out on a climbing, paddling, tramping or running adventure, look no further than Further Faster for all your gear and expertise needs over the summer. Head to 57A Buchan Street, Sydenham, Aotearoa, Christchurch, or hit them up at furtherfaster.co.nz. Aren't you glad that I'm now just pronouncing Sydenham wrong? It goes something like further, faster, there in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to further, faster now.
Oh, further, faster, there in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious.
Go to further, faster now.
Dirt Church Radio.
Episode 283 of the Dirt Church Radio Trail and Ultra Marathon Podcast. I'm Matt Raymond.
And I am Eugene Bingham. Tēnā koutou katoa. No mai, hoki mai. We made it.
We did indeed.
How you going, Matt Raymond?
My friend, I'm going. I'm going. It's a long middle part of the year. We've talked over the last couple of weeks. Tasting fitness, heading towards...
I think people have got it on t-shirts now.
Tasting fitness. I'm here to taste fitness. Heading towards WUU2K, and whilst I am not in shape to, set the 6th fastest time in history, I'm looking forward to it and had a pretty validating run on the weekend. And the corollary of that is I'm triaging my thoughts. So as always, triaging my thoughts. A lot of mad thoughts come up, a lot of thoughts around like failure, a lot of thoughts around worth, imposter syndrome, all that stuff. And it bubbles up to the surface. And so you just have to kind of, triage them.
You should write an essay about it.
I would. In fact, I'm going to. In fact, that is the title of the essay in this week's newsletter. But it's
there we go. Wow, it's as if I knew.
It's an organic.
Something.
It's called an organic plug.
Get your hands on it, people.
Yeah, read our newsletter. Our newsletter is awesome. And the but rather than pushing everything down, just triaging the thoughts as they arrive. And how are you, my friend?
Good. I got out for 4 swims last week, so that was good. And it's been fun.
How is this
bumping along?
How is the swimming going?
Wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get wet when you swim. It's amazing. No, it's good. It's good. Yeah, that's right.
No shoulder injuries or anything?
Say about swimming. Oh, undoubtedly around the corner, probably. Taken out by a shark or something, probably. Anyway, that's the kind of year I'm having. Look, it was a huge weekend for the trail and ultra community Aotearoa in the world.
Yeah, it certainly was. Yeah. Look, let's dive into it. And if you weren't, if you were indeed not under a rock, you would have known that it was Western States weekend, Statesmas, as I believe they call it, or Westmas, whatever.
Do they? Where's that come from?
Americans.
I saw that last week in the show notes, and it was the first time I'd heard it.
Yeah,
and then I saw it another couple. It's like a red car
Yeah. Yeah, you see it, you hear it. I'd never heard it until, I'd never heard it either. But I think, there's a certain amount of pomp, ceremony, and expectation, probably more so than any other race in the Northern Hemisphere. Maybe UTMB, but it doesn't seem like it sort of comes through enough. Maybe the size, maybe the whatever. But look, if you listen to last week's episode, you'll have heard our very nervous mate, Andrew McDowell, who had been waiting 9 years to get into the race, and he was hoping to dip in under 24 hours. Well, he went and absolutely bloody smashed it, running a perfectly paced, patient race and finishing in 22 hours and 51 minutes. He said it was well worth the wait, and it was a tough race in which he had to earn every mile. Amazing, bro. Just amazing.
Yeah. So proud of you. It was amazing. And other Kiwi news, of course, Dan Jones. We were all cheering for him. He ran 50 minutes faster than last year. His 14 hours, 32 minutes and 29 seconds. And he improved one place to fourth. And what he did was he found himself in the middle of one of the most hot dang races of Western States history. Jim Walmsley ran the second fastest time in history, second only to himself, and claiming the victory with 14 hours and 13 minutes. And the race for second, it was a sprint on the track, wasn't it? So, second and third, Rod Farvard, who led for a while, and Hayden Hawkes were just dueling it out. 16 seconds separated them. And then, Dan was, what was he, sort of 8 minutes back or something? Maybe I've got that wrong. Sixth fastest of all time for Dan. The top three were all faster than the winner last year, and Dan's time would have put him in second last year. So, amazing. And it was just, the whole race was a ding-dong, wasn't it? As in the whole of Western States.
Absolutely. As it always is, and certainly in the women's race, Katie Sheed, she was exceptional all day and finished with 15:46.57, leading from start to finish. And at one point, she was half an hour under Courtney's record. Incredible. Fu Zhaojiang, who had a top 5 finish at UTMB last year, was second in 16:20.03 after a super strong second half. And Esther Sislag, sorry if I've butchered that, was another 20 minutes back in third, a repeat of her position last year, even though she ran 30 minutes quicker. I mean, just incredible, especially that bit with Katie, on pace to break Courtney DeWalter's course record for a while, and they slipped off a bit, was still so strong and a good hour faster than her own time last year.
Yeah, amazing. It just showed how fast the whole race this year was. There was no snow this year, but it looked hot, so hot. I did enjoy, I tell you, watching, sort of observing crew techniques in that this year. It was like people being swarmed, and there was footage of Michelle, Dan's partner, sort of organising their crew, and basically Dan comes in and it's just like all hands. It was like a F1 crew, but they don't stop. They're sort of moving, aren't they? And just sort of ice and food and da-da-da. Have you seen the video of Fu Zhao eating the noodles?
No.
She's sitting there. She's basically got just noodles are being stuffed in her mouth, and there's other stuff going on. I think there's a shoe change going on, and they're changing the window wipers, and everything's happening. Right. It's amazing. It's so amazing to see. We observed it a little bit, didn't we, at Tarawera? With the old what do you call them? The old gummy.
Gummy. The
Zach.
Yeah,
the Zach Miller gummy bear in the. Were they gummy bears?
Yep, gummy bears in the drink bottle hose. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. That was a little bit of that, wasn't it? But it just is a whole nother level, isn't it, at Western States?
It's a whole nother level. And that crewing in itself, and again, harking back to Tarawera, me having to run as fast as I've ever run in my life after Sam McCutcheon, trying to hand him a bottle. It's something that can make or break your race if the margins are that slim. Did you see the video of Dan Jones with being paced by Mile Backhausen, and Mile posted he was sucking in some big ones in the last mile of the race, and Dan just looked like he was just cruising along. It was incredible.
Wow, because he put the burners on because they were all chasing each other, weren't they? It was amazing. But look, Crazies was also on down in Ōtautahi this weekend. Big turnout at the Crazy Midwinter Backyard Ultra that Stephanie Grace and crew put on. And there was more than 200 runners in the field this year. Big turnout. Julia Chamberlain was the last woman standing, dropping on lap 40, which almost doubled the previous female course record. And some bloke called Sam Harvey.
Never heard of him.
I don't know. He pushed on for 46 laps, 308 kilometres ahead of Jeremy Palvin on 45. So congratulations, Sam. I think that's 3 from 3 at Crazies. Not sure where that leaves things for the New Zealand team for the remote world champs. Do you know?
Look, I can't make head nor tail of that. I'm not smart enough. I fifth form maths, can't do it. So
I know. We need someone who's good at spreadsheets.
Yeah.
It's not, and we've established it's not us. So anyway, all right. I just wanted to mention too, over the weekend, Caitlin Fielder, Marathon Mont Blanc, came in 6th, and Nancy Zhang at Laverada was top 10 as well. And also at the weekend was the passing of Joss Naylor from, Feet in the Clouds. I guess elevated him to a wider audience, but a legend of trail running, and of those legendary races that Richard Asquith wrote about so beautifully. So yeah.
And please, if you haven't, get that book, read that book. I'm not even sure if it's on audiobook. That might be something to while away some long winter hours training. It is an absolutely it's an essential piece of running sort of canon, isn't it? And that just the nature of the life that Joss Naylor led, and actually how you said it did expose him to a wide group of people, but in lots of ways it didn't seem like it mattered because it was just his life.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the beauty of it. Look, we've got a couple of announcements. First up, we've got a hot deal for you. We've got a new sponsor for Greatest Run Ever. When I say new sponsor, it's our first ever sponsor for Greatest Run Ever. Our mates at Squad Run have come up with a special 4-week training trial for listeners of DCR. Now, as you'll know from listening to DCR over the years, Squad Run is the baby of Kerry Suter and Ali Pottinger, and they've coached with their coaches thousands of runners to success at a bunch of events we love and cherish. And if you've been to any of those trail races on either side of the Tasman, you'll have seen the Squad Run colours flying proudly. So if you want to give it a crack, there's a link you can find in our show notes, in the newsletter, and on the website as well, where you can sign up for this 4-week special. Give it a go.
Yeah, incredible, and so stoked to have such an amazing sponsor for what is one of the most beloved parts of Dirt Church Radio. Also, get them while they're hot, super limited edition DCR merch. Our new technical trucker hats have landed and they're flying out the door, $59.99 each plus postage and packaging. DCR 8 stations paid subscribers have 15% discount code, which they will find in the newsletter. And they do, even as I say so myself, they do look great. And I talked about last week how I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get out on the trails and absolutely destroy mine. I haven't yet. I haven't worn it running because I did notice that you put up a reel at the weekend, and I noticed that you weren't wearing your hat, and I was like, okay, you're saving it. I am. I'm saving it. Yeah. I'm saving it. But look, if you can find the link in our show notes or on the website, which is www.dirtchurchradio.com. Okay, this week it's our WUU2K special. We're heading down to Wellington next week for this amazing race, and we wanted to grab a local to do a bit of a preview, and we thought around, and we also thought, let's get on somebody who knows all about running in the capital, knows all about course conditions and course tips, and knows everything there is to know about trail running in New Zealand, and that's the Trail Running NZ newsletter honcho, Bradley Houghton. So we're going to cover off with him not only WUU2K, but his own backstory and running experience. So you'll enjoy that interview coming up. But first, Greatest run ever. Greatest run ever. Greatest run ever, brought to you by Squad Run. Give their 4-week special coaching trial a go. This is the part of the show where we ask you to write into us and tell us your greatest run ever. It doesn't have to be a race or a mountain summit. It might just be a run around the block, something that's sung to you for some reason. Send it in to us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. And this is from Campbell Willis. The Northburn 100 miler is an ultramarathon set amidst the breathtaking landscape of central Otago, spanning one of the largest merino sheep stations in the nation. With its formidable vertical challenges, both uphill and downhill, there's no escaping the raw elements of nature. Despite 2 previous attempts in 2013 and 2016 where victory eluded me, the allure of Northburn never faded from my mind. In 2024, fueled by an unwavering determination, I was more resolved than ever to conquer this ultimate test of endurance. Nearly 7 years had passed since my last endeavour. Still, finally, everything fell into place. With the assurance of long service leave, the steadfast backing of my wife Tanya, and the invaluable guidance from Jamie at Runvolt Performance, I embarked upon what promised to be the most monumental challenge in my ultra-running adventures. Months of relentless training, methodical preparation, and unshakable resolve had brought me to this moment. As I stood on the brink of a journey, I harboured a blend of respect for the course ahead and an innate assurance, a deep-seated belief that this was my moment to shine. Standing at the start line, I embraced a calm acceptance, positioning myself at the back of the pack, intent on running my own race. As we embarked on the course, greeted by the sun and rugged terrain, the raw beauty of nature became evident. Amidst the stunning scenery, I felt a profound vitality and gratitude for the opportunity to return to Northburn. In the first loop, I concentrated on pacing, staying mindful of nutrition and hydration, and keeping a steady effort. I felt strong on the uphills and managed the downhill sections well, with my mantra, be at my feet. I stayed present, avoiding getting ahead of myself, mentally ticking off each leg of the journey. I maintained control and felt at ease amidst the challenge. Towards the end of the first loop, I tackled the renowned Loop of Deception. It was a demanding section with a challenging climb, technical descent, and the heat. I encountered my first hurdle of the day as my stomach rebelled. Negative thoughts crept in, but I focused on reaching the checkpoint, understanding the importance of connecting with loved ones, and resetting for Loop 2. Upon reaching the checkpoint, a momentary panic gripped me as I couldn't spot my crew immediately. A reassuring call to Mum confirmed that they were nearby, and a pep talk from Terry encouraged me to take things slow and not rush back out into the heat. Finding shade, sipping on some trusty ginger beer, and connecting with loved ones provided the much-needed boost. With renewed spirits, I was prepared to tackle Loop 2. Loop 2 presented the daunting challenge of the infamous Death Climb, a grueling 14-kilometre ascent to Leaning Rock, the course's highest point. This climb had been my undoing in previous attempts, but I approached it with a newfound determination and resilience this time. Joining forces with another runner towards the top, Amanda, whom I had connected with before the race, enhanced the journey. Reaching the summit at Leaning Rock, I was greeted by awe-inspiring views, filling me with a profound gratitude for the opportunity to be there and pursue my passion. I felt a deep connection to myself, my community, and the land beneath my feet, a remarkable sensation. Entering the water race, a famed section I'd only heard stories about, I felt energised and navigated smoothly. As the sun set on the first day, I ascended to TW aid station, marking my return to the top of the course. Departing TW, I descended towards Cromwell, but soon felt discomfort in my right ankle. With each downhill stretch, the pain worsened, challenging my mental resilience. The final stretch of this loop is the pylon track, characterised by endless undulations and switchbacks that seem to stretch on indefinitely. In the early morning hours, fatigue and doubts began to creep in, leading me to question again if this would end in another DNF. Then I took a step back from my thoughts, reassessing my position in the race and reminding myself that all I needed to do was complete the loop. As I approached the last few kilometres, I felt a renewed determination to see this through to the end, proudly committing myself to continuing on to Loop 3. Feeling a bit disorientated at the checkpoint, but with Tanya's comforting words and guidance, I gathered myself and prepared for the final loop. I couldn't help but feel grateful and filled with love for Tanya, who was there in the early morning hours, supporting me despite little sleep and helping me pursue my dreams. After a brief nap, I acknowledged that it would be a tough day ahead, bid farewells, and ventured into uncharted territory, the start of Loop 3. The loop commenced with a challenging ascent of Mount Horn and onwards to TW, covering 17 kilometres, with 15 of those kilometres uphill. Despite the daunting terrain, I persevered, uplifted by the encouragement of the dedicated volunteers and the unwavering support from friends and family afar. Reaching TW for the second time, I braced myself for the demanding Loop of Despair. At 127 kilometres into the race and struggling to maintain pace on the downhill sections, I summoned every ounce of determination to continue onward, fully aware that each step brought me closer to the finish line. Returning to TW, I embarked upon an out-and-back leg to Leaning Rock. Hobbling back to TW for the last time, I knew the final downhill stretch would be brutal. Despite the pain, I pushed forward, reminding myself that it would be eventually over. Towards the bottom of the climb, I came across the first flat, runnable section of the course, but unfortunately by that stage, my ankle and shin would have none of it. Just keep moving forward. Up to this point, I approached the challenges of the trail with a determined mindset, taking each climb, loop, and descent in stride. However, as I reached the notorious bicycle wheel climb, I encountered a formidable obstacle that tested my resolve like never before. The ascent was grueling, and with every step upwards, I knew I would soon face the equally demanding descent. By the time I reached the summit, the intensity of the pain was undeniable, yet amidst the struggle, I found a familiar determination to persevere. Each obstacle was just another opportunity to push through the discomfort and keep moving forward, reaffirming the resilience of both body and spirit. The last leg was a whirlwind of agony and resolve. Tears flowed, prayers were sent to the running gods, and I rallied myself with inner pep talks. I traversed a long road, and nothing would deter me now. As the light dimmed, strange shapes and illusions danced before my eyes. I even fancied seeing my mum on a swing, urging me to keep going. I paused to capture a photo of the 1K to go sign, a poignant symbol marking the culmination of an 11-year journey nearing its end. As I neared the final 500 metres, I spotted my beloved wife and daughters, an encounter so surreal that I had to embrace them to confirm their presence. Sharing those last moments with them was an unforgettable experience etched in my memory. With my girls and parents by my side, I triumphantly crossed the finish line, greeted by Terry and overwhelmed by floods of emotion. I finally realised the magnitude of my accomplishment. I'd conquered the Northburn 100. In the days that followed, the magnitude of my achievement sank in. I couldn't have done it without the incredible support of my loved ones, especially Tanya, Ruby, Sylvie, Mum, and Dad, whose sacrifice and unwavering belief in me carried me through the toughest moments. To my family, friends, Coach Jamie, and support team, your encouragement and support meant everything. Finishing the Northburn 100 wasn't just about crossing a finish line. It symbolised the strength of perseverance, resilience, and the remarkable connections formed amidst adversity. Reflecting on this accomplishment, I'm grateful for the journey and the exceptional individuals who supported me.
Wow.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you someone who wants to be fit, healthy, and happy? And what if I told you you could get your dream body by simply just listening to a podcast? I'm Josh.
And I'm KG, and we're the hosts of the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast.
Listen, we get it. Fitness isn't easy. Carbs, no carbs.
Just stop, okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's why we made this podcast. We get straight to the facts so you can become your best you.
So the way to check us out is click the link in the show notes or search Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. We'll see you soon.
That was a suitably epic greatest run ever for an epic race. Yeah, those hallucinations sound pretty wild.
Yeah, 100%.
Seeing his mum on a swing. Wow.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you, Campbell. Epic. And you can read, I mean, we trimmed it a little bit. You can read the whole thing on the website, and you can also look at some of the pictures that he took. Yeah, it's an amazing accomplishment to knock off Northburn 100, especially to go back and have a crack 7 years later. So well done, Campbell. The rest of you, have a read of what Campbell's done, have a read of everyone else, and then send them into us at dirtchurchradio at gmail.com. Right, on with our chat. Bradley Houghton, enjoy.
Joining us on Dirt Church Radio this week, Brad Houghton, Trail Running NZ. How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. Good, thanks. It's lovely to be here on a tropical Wellington night. Looking forward to the WUU2K. So a few weeks away. And how far are we? When is this coming out? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's that whole, because of the time zones, because we're in Auckland, you guys are in Wellington. Yeah. It does get confusing. I'll give you that. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You guys are about behind us, is it?
Yeah, about that.
But 20 years ahead of us in coffee, so you got to take that into account as well.
Definitely.
It's
exactly.
And you got hills.
Yeah. Well, and lots of trails. Yeah.
Yeah. Except, I mean, I'm not even going to talk about your trails because the last time I saw you was the last time I ran. So, you know.
Yeah, you were looking good as well. You were training hard. You had, was it Old Ghost coming up?
Yeah, I had Old Ghost coming up, and then you did whatever you did, you know, like to take me out, and I haven't run since. That was my last run.
Yeah, well, you know, you might have to submit it as a worst run ever, or maybe it might be a best run ever. Who knows?
Could be.
So what? I mean. Let's crack into it. I mean, I'd like to take it back to Trail Running NZ, incredible newsletter, Aotearoa's original Substack-based trail and ultramarathon, newsletter. What gave you the idea?
I mean, it's one of, like most things, there's no like great story behind it. Like I'd like to say that I'd just been like, man, we really need like this epic newsletter that just is out every week, keeping everyone informed. It's like got all the results and entertaining. But really, it was like it was January last year, and I just had my son in December, and I was training towards Tarawera, and it was like a rainy day, just sitting at home. I was like, man, we really don't have anything that covers like all the results in New Zealand. It's like, what is there? There's Dirt Church. You guys have results, but like just pretty much like the main big races. You don't kind of have them every week, and it's like it'd be cool to know like what's going on around the country. And I was like, whenever you say like someone, is usually a good sign that you should just do it. Like I was kind of thinking that. I was like, well, I'll just write something now. So I just kind of sat down at the dining room table, put something else. Like, oh, what's on? Oh, the goat's on. Cool. What's happening there? Like, and just pulled it through. What's coming up? Tarawera. Just chuck something on about that, and then I just sent it to some of my mates, pretty much, maybe like 20 people or maybe 30 people that week. Pretty much just like the big Sunday run crew. And they're like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. You should keep doing it." And that was it, really. And you know, when you start something, it's like, wow, now people are expecting it. You're like, oh, you got to be careful what you do. But because of that, like people were really reactive to it. Like I was quite surprised. Like people just replied like, "Oh, this is cool. Oh, that was. Oh, what about this? Or you know, oh, you should do this." And you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And just went for it. Really, I guess it must have been like something. I mean, I've started and stopped a lot of things, so I'm always kind of looking to start something, looking for that thing, and it just kind of stuck. And I was like, "Oh, let's just roll. Let's give it a year, and if only 50 people ever read it every week for a year, so be it." Because it's not really about the numbers per se, but you always feel like you want to be progressing. Let's just do it for a year and see what happens. And then I think it's like 19 months later, and still panicking every Sunday night when I like open my laptop. Oh shit, have to write something, you know. So yeah, that's kind of how it's come about. And people love like trail running in New Zealand. It's just exploded, so it's kind of been a natural fit. And people love to send in their opinions and show you what's happening and all that kind of thing. So it's been really interesting. And I've met. Best thing has been like, I say meet, a bit like you met. Like I feel like we've already met, but I've only talked to you online. So many kind of runners around the country, just like, you know, they send like a cheeky reply to your email or your Instagram story, and you kind of end up striking a bit of a conversation. And like, I have no idea who they are, but then you kind of find all these little friendships, and then you do actually create quite meaningful like online relationships with different people. It's really, really interesting. Like, for example, Sean Collins, never met him before. He just signed up one day and sent me an email, like what you do kind of thing, because I think I emailed him about like getting some questions for the backyard, and we got chatting and that kind of thing, and then he came down for his SK, and you know, we'd had a few online conversations. So next minute I find myself out like middle of the night running through the bush trying to find him, because they, you know, went a bit MIA on their big mission, and then, you know, middle of the night in the Tarawera Range meeting someone for the first time, you know, by headlamp after they've been out for 26 hours, you know, all because you like wrote a newsletter and had a bit of a chat online. So it's been some pretty cool things like that, which has probably been the highlights for me.
Brilliant.
But yeah.
and you've certainly got a hell of a lot more than 50 of your mates tuning in every week, haven't you?
Yeah. Like it's kind of it like initially like had a bit of a surge just because I posted and snuck one through the Wild Things filter. They got a pretty good grip on there, and then Rob was being quite good. I sent him an email actually. I was like, "Hey, you mind if I just plug myself?" He's like, "Yeah, go for it, as long as you're not promoting any races." I was like, no, that's all good. So that kind of got things going, and then on like I've been a part of Big Sunday Run for since 2018. So I know it's actually got about 600 members. If you talk to Chris Martin, there's only about 10 people that actually run, but there's obviously a lot of people that read. So got a lot of people jumped in from that. And then Alan Crowe, who's like one of the head wormers, he just messaged me like, post in our forum, like, just do it. People love this. Like, he was being really supportive from day one, and like giving me a lot of ideas and introduced me to people. So people have been really receptive, which has just made it kind of naturally grow. And that's kind of, it's like I've wanted it to naturally grow. I haven't really wanted to try and like force it, but at the same time, you do have to promote it, like put yourself out there a little bit. But I think just about to tick over 1,200 subscribers. So that's like, that's bigger than I ever thought something like this would be. And then, we have a paid community, which we try and offer like a bit of like extra content to. We have like the giveaways each month, which trying to keep kind of running related for people to actually useful and review stuff. We've got just over 80 people now in that. And so that's like a mix of people who pay monthly, $5 a month. I have a few founding members who paid $120 for a year, which just absolutely blew me away. Like, that wasn't even supposed to be an option. It was just like default on Substack. And then it like came through and I was like, there's been a mistake. Like, why is someone paying me $120? So, and that's kind of being good to a degree. It means you turn up every week because you're like, it's not just, oh yeah, I'm just writing it. Oh, they're lucky if they get something. It's free anyway. Like, you actually have a bit, like, it sounds silly because it's just an email about it, like some people running around in the woods, right? But you do feel a bit of responsibility, like that, hey, I have to get this out because I've made it, once you make it a thing, it's a thing. So, but yeah, pretty blown away by the reception. And yeah, everyone's been really, really good about it. Haven't been cancelled yet. So, like, it's good.
What do you have a background in writing or doing any of this kind of thing?
No background in writing. Like I've always liked the idea of writing. Like, I've always thought, oh yeah, I'm not bad at writing, but I think a lot of people think that. But I've never done like any articles or newspapers or anything like that. I mean, I've done a little bit of work around like copywriting, around like, internet marketing, like dabbled in that, but never done any paid work, just kind of like learning on the side. But yeah, just kind of jumped into it really, and kind of learning on the job, as they say. Like, that's the best kind of way to do it, right? I mean, you'd know, being a journalist. That's sorry, journalist. Yeah. But
no, that's me.
Oh yeah,
I'm the air quotes guy.
Yeah.
I'm the journalist. Yeah. He's a journalist.
Oh yeah, that's right. Of course. Yeah. But yeah, so no, that's kind of the background on it anyway. Nothing, probably pretty typical kind of Kiwi story of starting anything, having a crack.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? It's everything starts from some point, and I think the death of some really good ideas can be overthinking.
Yeah.
You wait for that perfect moment or that perfectly formed thing, and it just, by the time that it happens, well, it never happens because nothing's ever perfect.
Yeah. There is that idea that everything started as a thought, which is something I've kind of, as of late, really tried to kind of grapple. Like, everything in your life, like if you look around, like your car once started as a thought in someone's mind, like, hey, I'm sick of being on top of this horse. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was something that we could just put your foot down and you got to where you wanted to, and that person would have been, if they said that out loud to the wrong person, they would have been laughed at and never created it, or they would have been hung probably at the time. Like, everything amazing in the world was just someone's crazy thought. Not that I'm putting a trail running New Zealand up there with inventing the car, but like, that's the kind of thing I've kind of been thinking about, and that kind of keeps me going. Like, hey, no, like, it's cool, and you're just doing it. Like, just keep doing it. Stop thinking, like you say. Don't think, just do. Which is, I think it's paid dividends. Like, it's worked well for me, and so it's just kind of keep following that track. Yeah.
Speaking of following tracks and taking it back a step, you said that you were you've been part of the Big Sunday Run group in Wellington since 2018. What's been your history with? I mean, obviously you've not just seizing upon a market share like trail running. You've obviously engaged in the sport. I mean, what's your first what's the first time you touched it?
First time, my first trail race was probably a good place to start. That was it was called the North Range Catchment Ultra, I think, and it was like the North Range Trio was the event, I want to say, and that was in Palmerston North in the very northern Aotearoa. I think it only ran maybe 2 or 3 years, which was a real shame because it had real great potential. But how I got there is I ran the Wellington Marathon horrendously. It's the only marathon I've ever run. I ran 4:35. And I think I ran the first half in like a 1:55 to give you an idea of how that kind of went. And it was like in a pretty bad like southerly. And I did everything wrong. Like I was like, I train with a camel pack. I'll take a camel pack so I don't have to stop at the aid stations. Like all the classic things like you think are a good idea. Like I remember at the end, someone asking me if I needed a wheelchair. And I was like, wow, do I look that bad? And I would have been like maybe 30 then. And so I'm like, wow, like I shouldn't look like I need a wheel. Like I didn't win. Like I just like limped it in. And so that was my first taste of like a race. And then, but in that, like the goodie bag was a flyer for this. And for some reason I thought, well, nothing can be worse than this. Like at least it will be interesting to look at. And it was like 50K. I was like, somehow I went from looking like I needed a wheelchair to thinking I could run 50K. I don't know, how that math added up. But I did it with my mate who also did the marathon, who had a much better day than me. And we just trained together for it. And we loved it. Like, it was just this kind of, can people run 50K? Like, that was the thing. I had no idea about Western States or any of these things. And like trail running even then wasn't what it is now. Like it wasn't plastered everywhere. Like even Tarawera, you kind of had to be pretty in it to know about it. And so it was just this little flyer. We went up there and ran there and had a much better time, and did it with like my best mate. And we just had this great time running around the northern Aotearoa, and we couldn't believe that we finished it. Like we actually just couldn't believe we ran 50K. And like, we thought we'd won the Olympics. Like it was just this amazing day. Ran it together, like no intention of like, if you're having a bad day, I'll leave you. And that was really cool, just running it together as mates. I'm sure as you guys have probably done many a time. So that was my like first taste, and then it kind of evolved. Like we went and did the Ring of Fire after that, which was another like, can you actually run around that mountain? Like that was pretty crazy. Like that was probably up there. And then like in Wellington, did the WUU2K, like that similar time. And then I've just kind of gone through there. Like I haven't done that many races. Kind of COVID knocked the kind of the racing wheels off everything. And so then I kind of didn't quite get back into that. So, but I've done the Tarawera 100K, had a decent day there for a mid-pack kind of weekend warrior. It was like 13 hours, just over 13 hours something. So that was like the peak of my career, if you want to call it that. DNF the miler in 2023, which was a bit of a shame, but definitely unfinished business. But I keep saying I want to go back, but the price keeps going up, so the chances of going back seems to be going less and less. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if I'm nice to Tarawera, they'll throw me a sponsor spot. I don't know, probably not. But it just, it seems to be getting further out of reach just for kind of, I know I do really like Tarawera. I've always had a good experience there. Like that big race vibe's always good, but you like start adding up when you add the training cost and the travel cost and everything on top, I'm like, that's like if you want to do it and do it properly, it's like from Wellington with the training shoes and everything, you're doing it. It's like almost like a $2.5-3 grand commitment, I reckon. It's like a cost of running crisis at the moment. Don't worry about cost of living. Like us poor runners, I mean, we're trying to like go run around in circles and stuff for all these big meaningful things to like come 500th place, you know, and the prize is going up. You know, it's crazy. Yeah.
All you need is a pair of running shoes, mate.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Cheaper than therapy. Actually, it's comparatively not.
No, I don't.
They might as well just go get therapy.
Exactly. So, but that's my kind of brief history with kind of trail racing. And with the Big Sunday Run, I've done some Tararua missions. I've done 2 of the 3 East Ks, but I haven't done the main range, which is really the only one worth talking about if you want to kind of have any bragging rights. But I've done the valleys and done the Tarn under the 24 hours, and the main range, that's like the big one. And, you know, that's, I'm not going to say it because I've said it a few times and it hasn't happened. So when it's done, if the New Zealand doesn't come out sometime in the next 12 months, you know what's happened. I've got lost and I'm like holed up in a hut waiting for a helicopter somewhere.
Or internet.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, that's kind of my, but like, I just love the scene as well. Like I do love trail running, the actual running, but I do just as much love the scene of like the people you meet. And it's real cliche, but like the people I've met through it have become like my friends more than the friends I had beforehand. You know, like it feels like you've kind of replaced your friend circle, which I guess you could say is a little bit sad, but like it's just the people you meet are just such good sorts and like just so passionate. It's hard not to like that to happen. So I've just loved like the scene and the people. Yeah.
Well, what was your scene before trail running in a sporting sense anyway?
Nothing really. Just go home about. I mean, I played cricket at like first 11 level through high school, played some club cricket, but never really kind of, like everything, like never really kicked on. Yeah, like that's how I describe my sporting and most endeavours. Like slightly above average at most things, never kicked on. Like, you know, like kind of could have done everything, but never did anything. That's how I describe it. And not trying to be like a scathing way. It's just kind of how it went, you know, the kind of master of none whole thing. It just kind of never really fell that way. Yeah, that's kind of.
And have you always been in Wellington?
Yeah, I've moved around a bit. Like I spent time in Rotorua through high school, and up in Auckland, Whangaparara, so kind of had some high schooling up there. And then, yeah, I would say like 60% of my life in Wellington and majority of my adult life, like once kind of grown up, got married kind of thing. Been kind of moved to Wellington. I've been in Wellington the last 12 years kind of thing. So, yeah. But
so that's been, so Wellington's been your trail running home for the whole time. It's a pretty special. It's a pretty special scene, but it's also quite a tight scene, eh? And sort of How would you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of 2 rival gangs, if you want to call it that. You've got the Wormers, who like are the happy-go-lucky, everyone's welcome, like meet at the waterfront, go run up Mount Vic kind of thing, and then we like drink beer, eat burgers. Then you got like the Big Sunday Run crew who are like generally a bit like more like older and grouchier, and we run in the real hills and that kind of vibe. You know, that's where all the Tararua stuff comes from. But the reality is, like there's a massive crossover. Like Worm's massive. Like there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of members now, and like like most of like the real fast guys around are kind of coming out of Worms now as well. But definitely like the big missions and the mountain stuff is driven by Big Sunday Run, and then the event scene like the Muka Muka Manta, the Aorangi Undulator, and the A100. That's all Chris Martin, who's like, you know, the godfather of Big Sunday Run, if you want to call him that. So it's kind of like a little friendly rivalry, a bit of banter, but everyone interweaves with each other, and most people kind of go in and out of both groups. But it is pretty tight in that. But like it's really thriving, mate. There's just so many runners in Wellington. Like if you're any time you're out on the hills, it's just really, and even at that, so like more so at that social level, there's just so many. On a weekend, you'll just see like groups of like 6 or 7 kind of middle-aged people out cruising around the hills that you wouldn't if you bumped into them somewhere else, you wouldn't expect that they're runners, like being polite. You know what I mean? Like they're just out there, but they're running and they have a great time and they're good runners. But it's just like, yeah, it's just really boomed. And I think part of that is the trail network. They've just done such a good job connecting everything. Like I know it's no Queenstown, it's no Wanaka with all the scenery. Like obviously you get good views, but the actual trails for running, I'd argue, is the best place for training in the country because there's so many options and such a variety of terrain and real runnable terrain. Like, and you can go so many different areas. So yeah, it's a pretty special place to run. Like I live out in Aotearoa, which, you know, is kind of out away, half an hour from Wellington CBD, but I run 1K from my back door and I can, you know, run up Colonial Knob, and it's like I can do a 10K loop with 500 meters of vertical gain with like multiple different single track options and four-wheel drive options, and that's like a pretty standard run, and you just get so used to it. And then you go to Auckland or wherever and you're like, wow, people would kill for this, like people would travel for this, you know what I mean? So you do take it for granted, for sure. And I think that's what like the WUU2K is so special. It's like it's just links everything up, all the highlights of Wellington, but it's all really runnable terrain, which makes it a great race. As you guys have both run it, I think, or did you do the wet year?
So this will be coming back this year. This will be my fourth time. Yeah. So I did the marathon the inaugural year, and then Eugene and I did the 62 in 2018, I want to say. And then we did the underwater year. And then, yeah, coming back this year. But you're so right, Brad. I remember going, you know, staying with a couple of people, and we went for a run at a little shakeout at Belmont, and I was like, oh my Lord, this is incredible. Yeah. And then running up, you know, out of Kaukau and along the skyline and just being like blown away. Just there seemed like there was nothing phoned in about the race at all. Like every trail was just, you know, and I know I'll always, because I'm an insecure Aucklander, I'll always sort of lash out fearfully at any other city. But I love Wellington, and I always remember having such good, like, I played music for years and years, and we, you know, the amount of times I've had an amazing gig at San Francisco Bathhouse, just, you know, like, oh my Lord. That time I got electrocuted at Valhalla, that was another story. But, you know, again, a good time.
Yeah.
A good time, until it wasn't. But, yeah, there's just something really, as Eugene was saying, it's just something so tight-knit, hey? Do you think it has something to do with the geography? Like the fact that it's just like sort of everything's like crouched into the hills because of the weather?
Yeah, I think so, but I think you're right. I think it probably is even just the weather. Like everyone puts up with the weather, and so it's like you have that in common. It's like, you know, it's like, you know, you can't beat Wellington on a good day, and everyone gets in behind that. And then, you know, when the weather's bad, it's just like, oh man, this is, you know, so you kind of like, it's like that kind of everyone pitches in mentality. It's like, if we all just keep saying like Wellington's a good place to live, people will believe us, you know what I mean? Like if we keep saying it's not that bad, it's not that windy, you know, like we just got to keep the same story going. Like, so it creates this kind of everyone tell the same story kind of thing, so everyone's still tight knit. I think that's kind of a bit of it too, because honestly, if it was like Auckland's climate down here, like, you know, it'd be like 2 million people.
Yes, well, I mean, I was a Wellingtonian for 3 years and enjoyed trails down there very much so, but also the variety, you know, the fact that you can just whip around the waterfront, it's quite a nice run as well, even though you might have flashbacks to the Wellington Marathon experience of whatever the year that was, but not as bad as the flashback that the leaders might get from this year's race. But anyway, we won't go there. Look, you mentioned WUU2K. We really want to do a deep dive on WUU2K coming up. So you've run it. What's your personal experience with it?
I didn't have a great race. Like my personal experience was thinking I was quite fit and then finding out I wasn't. Like, so that pretty much was similar to the Wellington Marathon experience probably. I think it was 2019 I ran it. I think I ran like 8 hours 20 for the 65K. but like thinking I was going to run like low 7 hours maybe. And so I did this really stupid thing. I messaged Tim Sutton because I was like, oh, Tim from Big Sunday Run, you know, he won it the first year. He's awesome. I'll get some advice from Tim. Just like, which is pretty much like run as fast as you can here. And then when you get here, run as fast as you get here. And then make sure you run the hills. And when you get to the top of the hill, make sure you take advantage of running down the hill really fast. And then, you know, and so then it's safe to say I got to Brooklyn at the wind turbine, you know, roughly the halfway mark. And I was already cramping. Yeah. So it was just like, I'm halfway in, like, yeah, don't, you should be careful who you get advice from. Like, don't ask like the fittest person in Wellington advice on how to run the race. Like, you do need to know your limit. And that's probably, I think, what's pretty cool about the WUU2K course is like, it tests everyone. Like, for your average runner, it's a massive test, whether it's the 45K, because it's all kind of going up a few K now, 45K, 65K, even like the half marathon, if you're just getting into running. It's a real test just to complete, which I think is really what you want about a trail race. For your standard person who's signing up off the street, it's like about completion. So you have that real sense of it's taking you on a trip, it's taking you on a journey, and it's like, wow, I finished that. I can't believe it. Where for the top 5%, people who are like, I'm here to win, I want a spot, like, it's going to absolutely destroy them as well, because just racing over that train with the constant up and down, it's like just takes such a toll. And it's that classic, like, whether you're at the start or the end, like the start or the back, like everyone's just as wasted as each other. And there's that full respect. Like, I can't believe you got that done. You were out there 10 hours in the rain. You got it done. That's awesome. So that's what I think makes it that really cool, nice vibe. Is there's no kind of judgment through, which is most trail races, to be fair. But I think WUU2K does a good job of kind of catering to everyone. If that makes sense.
Is absolutely, and it's a great, you know, there's great variety. You know, I just love, it's got a great vibe. It's got great variety. I love that you're up in the hills. You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, and then you glance down, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. That's our capital city just down there. Or yeah. I could pop to the dairy if I wanted to. It's cool. It's cool. You know, it's got a great, the location is brilliant. The course is brilliant. You know, Gareth and the team do a great job. Now, Gareth did give us a tip off that you were doing a bit of swatting. He said that you were preparing hard for this chat. So
panicking, more like it.
Well, he didn't put it that way, but so you've been swatting up on who's entered and who's likely to race in that. Yeah. What have you got in the way of tips for us?
Yeah, so I mean, I've had a good look through, and definitely the 65K is probably the hottest race in terms of like at the pointy end. I'll start off with the women's side. It's probably best place to start. Erin Vaughan is racing. Now, she came second the last 2 years, behind Ellie Wilson last year, and then Mel Brandon, who's the course record holder the year before. So you kind of say, like, any other years she probably would have won it, and just came up against two very quick people. So she's back this year, and I'd say she is probably the pick. But it's one of those, like, a little disclaimer, like, you read through the list, and I recognise some people, but like there's just going to be people on there who are super quick club runners that I've never heard of that will probably make me look like an absolute dickhead. But she's the pick from what I can see, second last 2 years. I'd say it's hers to lose. And she was also the 100-mile fault line winner this year by a big margin, and like really blew the course to pieces. So she knows the trails. I think she's from New Plymouth. I want to say, I might have that wrong though. So anyway, and then you got Chrissy Faber, who's coming down from Hawke's Bay. She's won a few things around the country. She was third at Tarawera Miler this year. She won the Y2K, Gareth's other race, in the Wairarapa. She was leading the fault line 100K until she dropped. She had like a tooth infection kind of coming into the race, so not surprising. So she's no stranger to winning kind of around Wellington. Then you got Crystal Bartlett, She was second at the Aotearoa mountain race just recently. She's been training the house down. She runs kind of local Porirua. I've seen her out and about looking very fit. And then you've got someone like Olivia Lawrence, who she's from BSR. She's more of a woman of the mountains. So a bit of an unknown probably for a 60K trail race, but she's been doing some big recce's like 50K on the course, looking pretty quick. And in terms of endurance, like she's done all the SKs and all that type of thing. So she's definitely got the pedigree. It'll just be if she has the wheels to kind of catch up with Erin, I'd say, but kind of has enough there to probably podium and maybe get the win if someone kind of fell apart potentially. That's probably who I've got on the women's side. On the men, Thomas Barnes, like hard to go past backwards Cat Barnesy. Like he's got the 45K record, which is no small feat, taking off Sam Hansby on a longer course as well. He won Taupo 50, A100, Jumbo Holdsworth, Old Ghost, so he picked that up as well. He was second at Three Peaks at the National Champs. It was leading most of the way and got chased down by, name escapes me, Mr. Kerr, forgot his last name, Captain Kerr on Instagram. I can't remember his name. Yeah, I was going to say Hamish Kerr, but it's not quite right. Apologies. I was actually messaging him just last week. That's embarrassing. But anyway, but I would say it's Thomas's race to lose, but he's going to have some stiff competition. I just found out Sam Rout, I think I'm saying that right. Is it Rout or Root from Whangarei? He's coming down. And so he's just beat the Flying Doctor up at the Bay of Islands in the 50K at the festival there. So he's super quick. It's his first time coming down to Wellington to race. So it's kind of, I would say that like Sam and Tom are pretty even, but you kind of have to give Tom the nod since he's a local and he's got, he's run all of the trails over and over. Very hard for someone like Sam to come down without ever, like especially with that course, there's so many intricacies. Like you start with like all those stairs, like 1.5K of like, what is it, like 400 meters of elevation gain kind of thing. You're thinking, what have I got myself into? And you start freaking out, I've got to hold my legs. And then it's like this nice, fast race from there. So I think Sam definitely has the potential to win it and with a bit of an upset. But I think Tom just being the local. But Sam Manson's come as well. So coast to coast, longest day winner, like obviously massive multi-sport pedigree. Third in 2022, I want to say, behind Sam Hansby and David Houndsmith in the marathon. So he knows the course and has raced it. So like any of those three guys, I think, could win it. But then there's a whole bunch of guys behind them that on their day could cause an upset. Like the top 10 will be like podium this year, I think. Like I think it's, as a whole, probably the strongest field. I'll just rattle off some names here. You've got people like Stephen Molyneux. He was fourth last year. Brendan Varty, he's getting quicker and quicker. Kyle Malone, Ryan Woolley, he's a local I've been told to look out for. Super quick. He came fourth in a 100K race called the Gorge Waterfalls in the States last year. Chester Holt Quick, I mean, it's in the name. And then you got guys like Andrew Wharton, he's a local Tawa runner for Scottish. He ran a 2:39, I want to say, at Christchurch as a master in the marathon about 4 years ago. So super quick. Local Harrier and Bert Prendergast, similar, like some super quick marathon runners kind of getting into trail running. So I think there could be 15 people under 7 hours potentially, which would be pretty crazy to think about. Yeah, so should be real good in the 65K. The marathon a little bit like less kind of know the names in the research. Probably not up to speed too much, but you've got David Houndsmith, the Flying Doctor. He's jumped in, as he does. Seems to just jump into every race. Yeah. After, probably a bit angry after the Wellington Marathon, so needs another race to kind of take it out on.
Watch out.
Yeah, exactly. But you've got Josh Campbell, who's local upper hardcore. He's very quick. It was probably his race to win, I'd say. It was his race to lose until David Houghton jumped in. So you'd think that it's David Houghton to lose now, but anything can happen, as we saw at the marathon. David's been known to not get the course quite right. The WUU2K, he ran too far on a few things and a few martial issues, so you just never know. And that's the thing about trail running. It just takes one fall, one slip, one sign to come down. So you got to actually run the race, right? So, but I'd say Josh Campbell will have a good day out. I imagine he would be first or second if he has a good day as he runs to his potential. Tom Peck, he's another local quick guy. He's over in India at the moment running on the treadmill, so it might not be the best prep for him. And a guy called Matt Adams, who's won a lot of the exterior races. I don't know too much about him apart from I saw he was doing a few recce's on the course and he's quick. And Hayden Smith, who I think was about third or second in the 22K just recently, or last year perhaps. So some good names there. But I will, at risk of getting cancelled and getting Andy Du Bois DMing me, I don't know too much about the female side on the 45K, to be perfectly honest. I did put some of the recent results through, and you've got, I don't know, it's not a name you want to get wrong. It's Florgy Cars, I want to say. It was 6th last year with a good time. So apologies, I know I'm butchering your name. And you got people like Bridie Mackey, who was 11th last year. Bridget Douglas was 5th in the 62K last year, so that could translate pretty well to the marathon. Like, you could be there or thereabouts. And Anna Douglas was 4th in 2019, and she's running this year. So it's probably a pretty open race. So there's a lot of people that could take it, which is quite exciting. And I think that's what's cool about these races. Like, there's so many people that could just get up and get it. There's so many entrants now as well. It's really exploded in the amount of people running. So it's pretty exciting.
Decent sized fields, yeah. And that's great. It's growing and growing and growing. By the way, Captain Kerr, the name you're looking for was Cam Kerr.
Thank
you. We've had the fact checking department onto it.
Yeah.
So
I knew I didn't have it right. No, thank you for that.
There we go.
Awesome.
There we go.
Yeah.
Always here with the facts. So yeah, I love that about WUU2K is that you do get the odd, the big names, the recognizable names, but you've also got lots of those sort of just decent people who are good club runners who spend time in the hills, and they can have a good shout as well. That's partly to do with the timing, I guess, of the race as well.
There's not much on this time of year. I mean, it is a a few weeks,
but it's kind of out of it's sort of out of race season, isn't it? It's sort of it's not sort of competing with the old Ghosts and the Tarawera and those sorts of races. Yeah. It's sort of mid-season when some people, some of the elites maybe are off in Europe, or just having a rest. And so it gives an opportunity for people to come through and make a name for themselves, doesn't it?
It definitely does. And I think, I was thinking about that earlier, wouldn't it be cool if, Dan Jones ran the WUU2K, would he beat Sam McCutcheon's record from 2022, which is pretty electric. But then at the same time, I was like, no, actually, it's kind of better he doesn't. It's just cool to see, the local guys, someone like Sam Hansby, who had the marathon course, he beat David Houghton in the marathon, local boy from Wainui, originally from Blenheim. He's won a lot of races around. He's gone to the New Zealand, the world champs for New Zealand, but, he's not, you wouldn't say he's on that level of Dan Jones and Western Hill and that really good runner, wins the race, beats a lot of really good people. Those kind of things are awesome to see. And you'd say these fields are set for that. Someone like Erin Vaughan this year, no Ali Wilson, no Mel Brandon, no Mel Aitken, that kind of thing. Mind you, I think Mel Aitken was 4th last year. But, it's really set, to win the fault line 100 miler, then win the WUU2K 62K, you're really starting to kind of build up a little bit of a presence. Then next minute you turn up to, say Old Ghost, you have a good race there, and suddenly it's oh, who is this person? And that's a little bit, not trying to take it back to the New Zealand, but that's a bit of the ethos of it. It was we all know like the top 3 or 4 big trail runners in the country, but who are these people winning the like relatively local races, or those semi big races, like and just kind of like, and when you start looking around, you're like, oh yeah, some of these people really get around the country and like do like run a lot of races and do really well, and and like in another life they might be the ones who are in Europe. It's just like they had a family instead of going to Europe to run, and they have the same talent, and they are kind of still have that talent, and they're just getting back into it and stuff like that, which I find really interesting to see as well. And then you get like the masters coming back running as well, like some crazy times from people like over 50. Not trying to be rude, but you look at it and I'm like, what am I doing? Why do I even run? Like, like you see some of the times they're going down, even like the 60 plus categories, you're like, these are just like insane times, like when you think about it, like, but at the same time it's quite inspiring, like, man, if I could run like even close to that when I'm like 50 and 60, like I'd be so stoked. So it's just like, and that's what's awesome about trail running, like it just keeps going, like that you just got to hope one day you get old enough, you kind of get on a podium.
You do the math, or have you ever done the comparative math? Okay, so if I was a masters athlete, if I was that would be good enough for third woman over 70.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's just translate it through. It's like that your boy Scott Jurek thing. He says if you see the dude warming up in the car park and he's got like a Montrail t-shirt on, a cotton Montrail t-shirt, you're about to die. Like he's gonna absolutely waste you.
Exactly. So. Yeah, so that's probably like the main thing with WUU2K. In terms of like, to me, what I think makes the WUU2K like quite a cool like event and course is obviously being the capital city and just being like it is in the name. It's an urban ultra. You kind of touched on it earlier about that's just a city down there. Like it's pretty crazy when you think about like the access the race allows. Not many cities. Like if you're in a smaller town, probably because no one cares and you just go and run it and there's no council to tell you off. But like if you try to run something like that in Auckland and Christchurch and that, it's a lot of like boxes to tick and a lot of red tape, and they're probably quite good. Like they did it the first year, is relatively small and it like built up. Because I think if you tried to come in, I mean the Fault Line Ultra have done it and they got the council on board, but like to come in as a big event, like there's a lot of expectation and a lot of paperwork involved. So the WUU2K really kind of it seems like right time, right place with the right idea, and it's really growing. I think they have like 200 per category now. Like it's a big race to have people running through people's backyards and almost places. Like when you're running, kind of get into town, it's like you're running downstairs. You're like, am I in the right place? I feel like I'm just kind of going around the block.
Yeah.
And
can I help you get the washing down? Yeah.
It's a bit like
that's my favorite part of that race. Yeah. That is my favorite part every time, and I think it speaks to that thing for me of being a I'm very lucky. I'm like you. I live like trails, K from the door, whatever. But I'm a city kid, and coming down over the bottom of Mount Vic, and you're running down that. I love that. Yeah. I really love that you're doing this thing. But you're in town.
Yeah.
I think it brings such a, and I guess that's the thing, isn't it, for people who are listening, or maybe from overseas, or maybe, from Australia or overseas, like come do this race. It's legendary, and it's hard. Like you said, it's runnable, but it's hard. It's a hard race.
I would say it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. So I'd say is like the best kind of way to think about it, because you kind of think you're going all right, and you kind of, the kind of big hills, you see the elevation profile, you're like, oh yeah, that's coming up. But it's the classic, like if you zoom in between those hills, you see, there's another like 10 like mini ones that actually hurt so much more. And by the time you get to the tip track, you just don't even care about the tip track, because you're like, whatever. Like I've done all this other stuff. You know what I mean? You're like, I'll just take a stroll up here, whatever. It's
Even coming down to the thing that got me the first time I did it, I was like, okay, sweet, came down tip track, and you look on the elevation profile, then you got these two little blips, at the end, and it's Mount Albert and Mount Victoria, and you go up over Tawatawa, and they kicked my ass. Like, I was like, I had nothing or not very much left at that point. I was like, holy moly, you know, this is so short. We'll go over the
What's your favorite bit of the course, Brad?
Probably from the turbine to the coast. So from, like, you go along the Barking Emu, which is like it is like a winding mountain bike track, which is nice to be on there knowing that there's not going to be mountain bikes as well. It's like a shared mountain bike. But once you kind of hit that kind of like the main track down to the coast, it's something special. Like you say, you forget you're in Wellington, even though you can smell the tip. And if you look to the left, you can see all the houses, but you can like see up to the South Island, and often like it's not necessarily sunny, but it's quite moody and misty, and you're running down to the coast, and it's like there's some like pinches and climbs, but it's net downhill, and you can really like let the legs go. I mean, when I ran this, obviously I was cramping at this point, so I was walking along feeling sorry for myself, but when I run that section, not on the WUU2K, that's in a magical section to run, and there's some nice little kind of single track switchbacks as you get close to the coast. It's truly something. And then when you even hit the coastline, if you're not from someone who runs on the beach often or that kind of thing, like running along that coast is pretty cool as well. But I'd say that's like the highlight, like because that area is one of the best if not the best kind of running areas of Wellington, like for pure running, like lots of butty terrain that you can run on. But just being able to see like the Kaikoura's kind of shooting up from the South Island, it's pretty special. I'd say that would definitely be the best kind of part of the trail itself. But there's lots of little highlights, and there's stuff you forget as well. You're like, oh, I forgot how nice, you know, the macro mountain bike bushes and stuff like that, which is nice as well. I mean, I don't think anyone loves doing the cow steps to start with. I mean, that's can take or leave the start, to be honest. It's pretty. Oh,
there's something magical. The headlights, you know, the headlamps is quite cool when you're going up Mount Coco and you look back and there's that line of headlamps. Well, mostly they were in front of me, but anyway, you know, it is quite magical, and you just, because you know that that's what's ahead of you, you're dialed in. You're not, you know, I mean, I certainly wasn't taking off from the front thinking I was going to be leading or anything by any stretch. So I just kind of got in that mindset of just enjoying it, and it's quite beautiful. It is, yeah. So I get what you mean. It's not your best running, but it's still pretty magical.
Which is actually something I did check out, because I was thinking, like you, like I know when I ran, I was like, oh, don't worry, you know, just get up to the top. It's like the first part, it doesn't matter. But if you're wanting to win it, you do need to be at the top, like the last 2 years.
Is that where I went wrong?
Yeah, it's exactly where you went wrong. Exactly.
Oh, damn it.
Just looking at like everyone, like since I think it's only the last 2 years they've done the split on the top, so I could be speaking a bit out of turn, but in both distances, both times, first through has been through, or like they were in the lead pack, there might be like seconds between them. So it's like, if you want to be there at the pointy end, you do need to be at the top, if not 10 seconds behind, if you want to be like at the end, which is quite interesting. I always thought, you know, there's so much ahead, like you'll be fine, but yeah, it's quite interesting that you got to get to the top and to know what's happening in the race, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there's a good tip for an elite runner. We're going to dispose of your advice from Tim Sutton earlier, because
who won last year.
I know, but for a mid pack runner, I'm talking, or somebody's just out for a good day, we're going to ignore that advice. But what's your advice for someone who just wants to have a good day? You know, they're not after a time; they just want to, you know, just have a good solid day at WUU2K. What's your advice for them?
My advice would be, it sounds a bit kind of cliche, but talk to the people around you, because it is one of those races that there are people from all around the country come run it, but like the people are what make it, and that's when I've had my best races in terms of like experiences. It's like it's either with someone I know, or like, you know, when you're running and you're like, it's a bit awkward after 20 minutes when you've been running with someone and you've been like pretty much like staring at their ass going up a hill, and then like they're staring at you, and you're like, oh, well, should probably know each other's names since we've just been looking at each other for the last 20 minutes. And then you're like, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. And then you find out you like live 20 minutes away from each other or whatever, and then you like start talking, and then next minute you're like, oh, we're at the aid station. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Like, I think just talking to the people around you, if you can talk, because obviously, you know, there's a lot of huffing and puffing. But in terms of from a running point of view, would be, I mean, it's a bit late if you still, you know, there's got to be no training tips now that are going to change it, but you really just want to think about, everyone thinks about the uphills with the WUU2K, like hills, got to do hills training, which is fine. But you need to, it's the downhills that are the killer. That to me, like your quads get absolutely annihilated. And it's not just because of the gradient, but a lot of it's quite, like some sections, of course, get a little bit muddy, like in some of the mountain bike tracks, depending on the conditions, but I would say a lot of it gets greasy, which is quite different. So it's runnable, but it has that slick surface. And so if you're not a confident runner, you kind of find yourself kind of gripping with your feet and doing weird things that you wouldn't normally do, and your quads just get hammered. So I would say, like, you just need to think about being as efficient as possible on the downhills, not fast, but just efficient. But it is okay to run a bit faster than maybe you would normally on a downhill, because if you're there trying to like just worrying about staying upright, you're going to have a really long day, I reckon. So just efficiency on the downhill is the big thing. And don't overcook it early. Like every race, like the terrain, like you look at the elevation profile, the hills get smaller as you kind of get in, like apart from the tip check, obviously, but like you were saying, Matt, like Mount Alfred, it's a real bastard. Like it's really steep. It's like, oh, it's only a 80 meter climb or something, but it's like, yeah, but over like 200 meters or whatever, like, you know, so it's like, and it always feels 4 or 5 times steeper than it really is. Like when you go back and you run that on like a weekday night, you're like, oh, okay. You know, and then in the race, Easy. It just feels like, oh my goodness. So yeah, that would be my advice.
As you were talking then, I just was remembering some of that, like that I'd forgotten. I was like, oh yeah, you know, especially after the golf course, it just goes, what, like that, like madness.
And have your pickle juice as well if you're a cramper, because if you know you're a cramper, you'll cramp on that race.
Yeah, I don't normally cramp, and I haven't cramped before doing WUU2K, but I might just, I don't know, so I might just have a little something handy there. All right, so this is a I don't know if this is controversial or not. Some people rock them, some people don't. Poles, no poles.
No poles. Nah. I mean, I don't think it's a terrain that really helpful for them. I think it's not. Yeah, it's not that it's. I don't even how. I mean, it probably doesn't help. I'm not a huge poles person myself. I just think it really is just chip away. Like that, you're going to be putting them away so much because there's so much runnable flat section. You're going to spend half your time putting them away, then getting them back out, and it's all for like 2 minutes of climbing. You know, I think it would just be a real pain with poles. From memory, there's no drop bags, so I don't think you can have them further into the course. Like the only like longest continuous climb is the tip track. Like most other climbs are relatively short. So the tip track, yeah, it would be useful to have them, especially if you're kind of mid to the back of the pack, to like just to keep you trekking. But I think apart from that, especially in the back end of the course, you'll end up catching them in a stair or something and really doing yourself a doozy, or stabbing someone in front of you. Like I would say no poles, to be honest. Yeah.
Unless you're Louis Schindler, then you do what you want.
Yeah, I won't tell him what to do.
But he's at the other end of the bell curve.
Yes.
Man, I'm excited. I'm super excited. I am super excited to get down. I can't wait.
Are you running the 45K? Did I see that was the...
Yeah.
Yeah, and you say you've done that one before?
So running the 40... Yeah, I've done both distances before. And this is sort of in the context of training for a larger run, February. So, you know, just kind of trying to do as many, like, and just have a a good time.
Yeah.
Like just go out and try not to psychologically sabotage myself and have a good time.
So, I mean, you know
we'll see if it works.
Yeah, I mean, you know the course pretty well now, so like, it'd be quite interesting. You coming in, like, you could actually, strategize quite a bit. Like, where, like, I'll just keep it chill here, and like, looking forward to this. So, it should be a really, really good day. Did you have good days the other time you've done it, like, or did you suffer, or like, what kind of?
So the first time I did it in 5 hours and 20 minutes, the 45.
Handy.
So it's pretty happy with that. But then of course it was like, that was a long time ago in a different not same life, but
different body.
And then I don't remember different bodies, this meat suit is rotting. We did I don't even know what we did the 65K in.
No.
We had a good time.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Like
we had a good time.
Like we hung out a lot.
It wasn't a fast time, but it was a good time, wasn't it?
We took photos and hung out.
Threw water at a kid. That was unfortunate.
That was Eugene.
Yeah. I went to empty out some water and didn't realize there was a kid standing next to me, and just sort of like flinged my water full into this kid's face. And Matt, no, you didn't get a photo of it. Someone got a photo of it, didn't they?
No, someone got a photo of me pointing at the kid, because you didn't, like, not a drop of water hit the wind turbine car park's floor. It all just went over this little Wellington street urchin who was up there shining shoes or doing whatever happens in a big city. But chucked like Eugene just turned and chucked his car.
Awesome.
So anyway,
totally over
you
this
might not
kid.
get let back in.
Yeah. Well, that's why it hasn't been back, because it was hot water.
I don't actually have an injury. It's just that I'm not allowed to run in Wellington.
Oh dear.
But no, I don't understand. I don't remember what we did on the
Doesn't matter.
on the other one, but looking forward to.
Yeah, every time's a good time. Yeah, even the rain year, like it sucked. It was just, the weather was atrocious.
So bad.
But it was super fun. It was great, and like you say, people around you, and just the course is so interesting, and the marshals are cool, and it's just got such a great vibe. You can't go to WUU2K and have a bad time, I don't think.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Are you guys doing like a post-race kind of thing? Are you going to go down to the Waitoa Brewery? That's kind of the official after party, which is really close now as well, because of course the end's finished. So instead of finishing at the top of Mount, but yet the velodrome, so be pretty cool finish, I reckon. Like little kind of Western States-esque running around the track. Have your little moment running around the track.
There's virtually no difference. There's no difference. You're not gonna be able to tell the difference.
Hopefully not similar time that you.
When I collapse, when my brain turns off and I collapse, and they're like, "Leave him! Don't touch him!" And get up and wobble to the finish. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Oh no, excellent. No, it's going to be good. I mean, I was originally going to run it this year, and then I just didn't get fit enough, and it's one of those ones. I've like run it before. It's like I kind of always say, I go back. I really want to give it a good nudge. I was like, I don't want to go back just to do the same thing, and so I'm going to try and float around. Like last year, I got to the top of Mount Kaukau for the first runners coming through, which was quite magical, seeing them all come through out of the mist, and then the sunrise for the marathon coming through, seeing those big guys and girls kind of whip through at the front was really cool, and just catching me on the course. So I think I'll do the same. It's actually one of those races where I'm like, we need someone who's got too much time and a lot of toys, like some GoPros on mountain bikes and some drones. You could do like some amazing coverage. I just wish I was a bit more tech savvy when it came to that thing, because you could do some pretty awesome coverage, like UTMB style with the mountain bikes, because so much of it you can mountain bike, obviously. So maybe if Gareth's listening and he wins Lotto, he can get some of that sorted, because that would kind of take it to the next level. I mean, I guess Old Ghost does something similar, and I think that's really helped the profile of Old Ghost, is having that coverage. So maybe that's the next step in the next couple of years for WUU2K. Would be pretty awesome.
If only he still had the keys to Weta workshop. There'd be some pretty cool pretty cool camera gear in there. Look, Brad, you've been so generous with your time with us. We love what you do. Obviously, we really love what you do and what you contribute to the sport and the culture. And just wanted to ask you a question. It's similar to the question you ask people on your newsletter, and that's, hey, Bradley Houghton, what's been your greatest run ever?
My greatest run ever would definitely be Ring of Fire. I think it was 2019, just purely because I didn't think I could actually go and run around Mount Ruapehu. Like, when I first saw the race, I was like, are you serious? Like, you can do that? Like, that's pretty crazy. And then I like watched the first year happen. I was like glued to the results, and I was like, saw the times. I was like, is that like halfway? And it's like, they've, like, it was pretty crazy. And then like signed up like straight away. And so it was a massive build to it. I was the guy that signed up as the entries opened. And because you're like, early bird, got to get the early bird. And there's probably like 2 people registered for 6 months or something like that. With the Ring of Fire, it's had been a bit of a struggle. But I just still remember me and my mate Josh, he's my best mate, who we did the marathon together, and the North Range trio, like driving up after work and like just seeing Mount Ruapehu kind of come out of the mist, like, and we're like, oh shit, what have we done? Like, what are we, like, the ultimate imposter syndrome? Like, do we really think we can run around that tomorrow? Like, neither, like, so the 50K was the furthest either said run, and none of us, we hadn't really run on any like mountainous terrain. Notice like it's not that mountainous, but you know what I mean. Like, the terrain's pretty decent in spots. And so, and as you get up and the race starts at 4 a.m. and it's just like, it's mission o'clock and the gun goes and it's dark. And it was just such an awesome run to do with a mate. And just the further the day went, we were like, hey, we're actually doing this. Like, hey, we're actually going all right. Because we did the classic start right at the back and then just like slowly past people, and we're like, hey, we haven't been passed, like, we're actually just passing people, and like that kind of fueled it. And I just remember some like what they call the missing link section in the Rangipo kind of area, with those massive valleys, like looking down and then looking up and like just seeing this massive like wall, what looked like a cliff face, and then just realizing there's people halfway up it, and just being like, that can't be, we can't be going up there. Like, looking around, like, oh, we are going there. And of course, it's like the climb is never as bad as it looks from a distance, but just that whole area, never been in there, just amazing terrain. And then just to like finish with your best mate, like running towards the chateau, like as the sun's kind of getting low in the sky on those trails, that was like something real special. We both had our wives at the end waiting for us as well, and so it was like the whole typical best mate stereotype, but that can't beat that. That was absolutely amazing. And like the other moments that you think back to, like you want to repeat those, like, man, like that's what makes races good. Because I think I did slip into a bit of like, oh, racing's racing, and it's just cool to go run nice trails, but I wouldn't have had that experience if we just went and ran around the mountain. There's something about that like race experience that really made it special. So that's my best run ever, like without a doubt. Comes to mind straight away.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Hey, thank you so much. We'll be catching up with you at the weekend, no doubt. Yeah. See you down there. And as Matt said, love your work.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you guys, and love you guys' work too.
Are you excited about WUU2K?
I am excited about WUU2K. Yeah, I am excited. Cool. I remember enough of the course to get excited, and I'm sure that there's enough that I've forgotten that's going to come back to bite me. But yeah, I can't wait. Very, very excited. And if you do see us in Wellington, come say hi.
We come say hi. Yeah.
We'd love to catch up.
We'll be hanging out. We'll be out and about. While Matt's out on course, I'll be tearing around and trying not to throw water at kids, stuff like that. So, yeah, come and say g'day.
All right, what an amazing chat, and thank you very much for tuning in. We're on social media at Dirt Church Radio. You can email us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com, and don't forget to sign up to the new podcast and newsletter.
Don't forget to send in your greatest run ever. We'd love to hear from you with it, and we know people love hearing them. You can read them on the website too, dirtchurchradio.com. gmail.com, and then send them in to us, dirtchurchradio@gmail.com.
Thanks to our sponsors, Further Faster and Squad Run, and our Substack subscribers in the DCR Aid Station crew. Stay tuned for our show in 2 weeks when we have another great guest lined up, and check out DCR Aid Station next week.
Hei ko nei, hei ko nā. Thanks, Rigby.